As I said, joining me right now is former TFC goalie and now Portland Timbers goalie, Milos Kocic. Milos, welcome to Red Card, my friend.
Thank you. How are you?
Very good. Milos, I got to tell you, I go way back to watching you play in the Canadian Soccer League with Serbian White Eagles, and I said to many people the time I first laid eyes on you, you don't belong in that league, you belong in MLS, and that's where you ended up with TFC and also a few games with DC United. Talk about last season, Milos. Unfortunately, it wasn't the greatest of season for the team or yourself, but you're willing to turn things around now in Portland. How has the coaching staff talked to you about your role now in Portland?
Yeah, well, let's start with the last season. It's been the best season in the beginning of the season in the history of the club, and then it ended up the worst season in the history of the club. So it's been very interesting, very, very good experience for me. I learned a lot of stuff from that season. Sometimes losing seasons, you learn more from losing seasons than from winning seasons. So for me personally, I think it was a great season to figure certain things out and to grow as a professional. Now looking now at Portland, we just had like 2 or 3 sessions, but it's a totally different story than what I lived through Toronto last year. So we look much better. The team is very athletic, very big. Almost everybody's over 6 foot tall. Everybody can play soccer, so the team is looking very, very good.
Milos, let's be honest. I followed this team since day one. I've been around professional soccer all my life. I've got to tell you, too many times watching some of your ex-teammates with TFC after a loss on home field, walking underneath that tunnel, it looked like to me on their face, Milos, it didn't matter. I got to tell you, myself as a former player, I'd break a wall, put a fist through the wall after a loss. I didn't see that from some of your former teammates.
Yeah, we missed that edge to defend your house, to defend your home, to defend your field. I think for us it was like a home disadvantage. I felt every time we were home, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and we were losing the games just because everybody, whenever somebody makes a bad pass, they're expecting for the crowd to boo them or something like that. So the players, at the end of the day, the players weren't mature enough to play that season. So even though we had some experienced players who got hurt and some players who were just not I don't know if they're good enough or not good enough, but they were just not mature enough.
That's a great point, Milos. And I look at a young man like Quinlan Roberts sitting on the bench all season long. A young man like that, and you are a young goalie yourself as well, Milos. Does that player not need to play as many games as he can to get experience, whether with TFC or another team? But a young man like that is going to suffer.
Yeah. I made that point to a goalkeeper coach, to Stuart, a lot of times, and every young goalkeeper that I ever meet and that I met before and I'm going to meet in my future, I always tell them one thing. For goalkeepers, it doesn't matter which league you play, it's very important to play from young age, because the shot is a shot, the cross is a cross. Now, it gets quicker in the bigger leagues. It gets quicker, the shot is quicker, the technique is quicker, a lot of things, not a lot of things, but just a little things change. But at the end of the day, you're playing games, you're facing you're facing shots, you're facing crosses, decision making, getting out of your box, and all those things. It's very important for a young goalkeeper to play, no matter where, no matter what league. We have a saying back home in Serbia: it's better to be first in a village than last in a city. So I was always following that. I always wanted to play, and even when I was with TFC, I didn't get a chance to play. When Mike Toshik was a coach, I told him, listen, I want to go to CSL and play for Serbs, because I played 30 games that season, and then the next season I was able to challenge the Stephen Fry and Johnny Conway. So I'm always for that, for younger goalkeepers to play.
Milos, I felt for you many times last season where game after game, especially on home field, late game collapses with few minutes left or few seconds left. You guys would give up a goal, whether to tie to let the game be lost or to be tied, and that to me was really the hardest for TFC fans to take.
Yeah, it was. It's not easy. I ended up playing that DC game that I really didn't want to play. My kid was in the hospital for a while. I was pretty much sleeping on a bench in the hospital for over a month. So I told them that I'm not ready. They should bring somebody else. I wasn't ready to play soccer because I had other things on my mind, family things, family issues, And, I was very fair, very honest. I told him that I'm not ready to play, but obviously whoever they brought, he wasn't good enough to replace me. So,
well, at least you have the knowledge and the guts and the fortitude to say it. You were honest when that goal went in to blame yourself. And I'll never forget Danny Kuverman's as well speaking honesty. And too many times, too many people just not being honest with themselves and saying, hey, it was my mistake for not capitalizing on that situation. I think, Milos, today, too many of the youngsters are not being trained properly from a lot of the veterans that have come over from Europe. Too many of the Canadian kids have a bright future, but they don't understand the knowledge of an Italian player, of a Serbian player.
Let me tell you something. You have to have lower leagues in a country to be able to establish players. So let's say I have a feeling that young Canadian players, they get a chance to play in MLS, which is now a very big league. I think it's top 10 in the world. I can't say it's top 5, but it's definitely top 10 in the world. And I say that, they get a chance to play in MLS very easy. And that the reason for that is because there is no lower leagues to send them. So how are you going to challenge the young player? Okay, let's give him a chance in TFC. And then, if we think he can do it, a lot of players just burned because it's a big opportunity, but they think that they get it so easy that they think that's the lowest point in their career. But for most of them, it's actually the highest point of their career. They're not good enough at the moment to play. They let them play. They burn themselves. So, it's there has to be a lower league so players can develop from early age. So when they come to Toronto FC, they're ready to play. They're ready to rock. They're not just they're not just learning about things during the playing time, right?
Milos, you mentioned something very interesting. 3 days in Portland, you can see already the players' mentality and their physique and their training is totally different than TFC. A lot of times, again, I saw players that were not in the shape they needed to be to play in MLS. Why was that?
It was a lot of changes that coaches. One coach brings one type of players, and the next coach brings another type of players. We were building the team for a year and a half to play 4-3-3. The coach had another year and a half on his contract to build something. Then in the middle of building something, they change. They bring a coach who is old school English coach who wants to play 4-4-2. Then he brings his own players. Then they don't respond well. It was just a whole mess. You have to stick with one thing, and you have to trust in one thing. And no matter if you lose every game, but next season you maybe win all the games. So there is no patience in Toronto. There is no patience for everything is mediocre. There is no devotion to one thing and stick with it until you either be a champ or you die. What we did for 7 years, we died every year. So I don't understand that.
And it's very sad, Milos, because the city of Toronto, as I do, Milos. It's a smart soccer city. It is one of the best soccer cities in the world. Very smart and knowledgeable. And you said it best. I mean, when you were walking out there in the streets, Milos, talking to the people, they laugh about TFC.
Yeah, it is. It is laughable but at the end of the day, everybody, I feel like how can I say it? Everybody has opinion in Toronto, right? And I feel like the owners of the club and everybody are not. I hope that changes with Kevin Payne as a president, because I think he won't listen to anybody. He'll do what he thinks is the best, and I think that's the right decision. I think it's like a lot of listening what's outside of the stadium. Okay, what is the fans want? Okay, let's say 30% want this, the other 30 want this, the other 30 want that. So what are we going to do, right? So I don't think that's the right way to go. Toronto, it is a smart city, but I think what they have to do, they have to stick with something until they get success. And that's what I said in my interview earlier. I said it's better to have 10 people in stands and then build a team who is going to be a championship team and have 20,000 people in stands than having 20,000 people in stands and then lose all of them.
Well said. And I'll tell you this, Milos. I was at the TFC Media Open House today, and I met Kevin Payne one-on-one for the first time. And I'll tell you this, Milos, this guy here, it's his way or the highway. And I love that because whether the owners like it or not, he's going to make the calls on players, on coaches. And you have already seen with Ryan Nelson coming in, it's his guy, whether they like it or not. And I think this will be good for TFC fans. Milos, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I want to ask you your thoughts as well when it pertains to grassroots issues in Canadian soccer. We saw, Milos, the disaster in Honduras, the embarrassment for the country of Canada. You've been all over, Milos, Europe, North America. You know how different countries train, but you know specifically the USA, how they have passed us. What does Canada need to do, Milos, at the lower ages? Because I tell you, Milos, my two boys, my two sons, when they play soccer, they would play youth clubs like Serbian Eagles and other clubs, and we have good young players. But what happens after that, Milos?
Yeah, and how many teams in Canada? 3 teams. Let's say each team has 25 players, let's say. That makes it 75 players. How many Canadian players don't have anywhere to play?
This is a great point.
Yeah, so where is the youth team? Where is the PDL? USA has a PDL league, Player Development League, right? Where is that in Canada? They have a CSL league that the most of the world is laughing at because they're setting up the games. You can't bet on those games anymore. Like, I don't know if you heard of that.
Yeah, of course. It's been a big story for the last number of months, of course. Milos, what about coaching? I think too many times, Milos, in this province and in this country, these coaches can go get a license in a bubblegum machine and coach our kids. How does things have to change when it comes to our youngsters developing? It is so important.
Well, first of all, a lot of owners of the club are businessmen who have never been to soccer. They play soccer once in their lifetime, and they think they know something about soccer. And then they start the club because their son wants to play soccer or something like that. And what happens? He makes decision, not the soccer decision. He makes a smart decision, business decision. I think it's, for me personally, the way we organize in Serbia and all European countries, the youth club. I had the feeling the coaches are, first of all, you need a license, the proper license. That you cannot just get it everywhere you want. It has to be through your union. It has to be approved by very experienced coaches in a country. Then when you move on, you start with the youngest kids, and then you progress as a coach up. I don't know. I mean, there is a lot of coaches that just because they're big players, they think they can coach, right? There is a lot of players. There's a lot of coaches who never played before, and they think they can coach too. So it's very disorganized. I can say that the Canadian soccer is very disorganized, and but there is a lot of talent. I can tell you that.
Well, Milos Kocic of the Portland Timbers, we hope one day when you retire that you come back and help out some of the youth in Toronto, in Ontario, because they need your knowledge, they need your help, especially in the young goalie department. Milos, good luck to you and the Portland Timbers in 2013. And again, all TFC fans, thank you for your time in Toronto.
Thanks a lot, brother.
That is Milos Kocic, goalie with the Portland Timbers, and a guy that I have a lot of time for because he's honest, he's upfront, and he never shies away from taking blame when he doesn't have a good game. You saw that against DC United. He's a class guy, a class human being. We love having him on Red Card.